Okay, in this video, I'll show you some different constraints that you can put on your lofts in order to give you some more desirable shapes. It'll just, the practices in this video will give you a little bit more control over your loft. If you've already tried doing some different lofts, you might have noticed that you don't always get the shape that you want right off the bat. And so sometimes you have to get a little bit creative on how you want to accomplish that shape. And so using this, I hope to create some sort of like nozzle for a vacuum cleaner here. And I'll show you the different things that I can do. But first things first, let's just loft these two together like normal. So we've got our loft here, and we're going to go from here and here. Okay. As you can see, it doesn't quite look, I don't know, maybe this is what you want, but for me, this isn't what I want. What I want is for it to kind of curve out a little bit here as it goes down. And I want to have some control over this, because you'll see if I move this around, that's definitely not what I want. And so I want to be able to have some more control over here. You'll notice if I bring this all the way, it's going to break it. So I want to know how I can have a bit more control over all that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to split up this circle into different entities. And then I'll show you how to use guide curves after that. So like I said, in order to split up that circle, I need to edit that sketch. Oops, sorry, that's the wrong one. Sketch 2. Let's go normal to it. Okay, that works. What I want to do is I want to put points on this circle that correspond with the points on this rectangle. And so a good way to do that is just to sketch a rectangle on the circle. And so I'll just do that just like this. Okay. And let's give it a dimension here. And then there you go. I also want to make sure it's construction geometry, because I don't want this particular rectangle to be lofted. I just want to use the points for something in a second here. So now I've got some good definable points. What I'm going to do is I'm going to split this up. You see, if I hover over this, you can see it's one circle. That whole orange thing is one circle. Okay, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to split it. And the way that I do that, don't get confused, don't use the trim tool, because that won't split it. What you need to do is you have to come up here to the top and go to Tools, and then find Sketch Tools. And once you've found Sketch Tools, you need to come up here to Split Entities. So I'll show that again. Tools, Sketch Tools, and then Split Entities. Okay, what this will do is whatever entity you select, in this case we're going to select the circle, it's going to essentially cut it wherever we put a point. So I'm going to cut it there, I'm going to cut it there, I'm going to cut it there, and I'm going to cut it there. Now the reason I selected those points is because I'm going to define them later on. But now you can see as I hover over, it's no longer a full circle. It's just an arc. And then same thing here. That's an arc, and that's an arc, and that's an arc. And so this will, when we go to do the loft later, this will allow us to, it'll make sure that those projection lines go directly to these points. And I'm just making sure that these are where I want them by merging them with those points on that rectangle. So now there's an arc there. Okay, that's what I want. I'm going to exit the sketch, and I'm going to redo the loft. So let's select that one and do the loft. Okay. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, currently it's crossing the part. That's not what we want. We want it to go there. Okay. Now you can see there's a bit more control. It's actually going, if I get it to go to those points, then over here it will project to those points. So that gives me a little bit more control there. But now I'm still not getting quite the shape that I want. It just looks like this circle is falling onto the rectangle. I want to give it some curvature there. And so the way I do that is with guide curves. And so in order to put in guide curves, I need I can use 3D sketches, which maybe you have some experience with those so far. They're not the easiest unless you want to do just like straight lines. So I'm actually going to do some reference geometry and throw some planes on here. So I'm going to throw in a plane here between these points like this. Okay, those are just some arbitrary points. I'm going to draw this sketch from here to here. That's what's going to happen. And I have to have a third point in order to fully define that plane. So that's why I chose that third point. But I definitely need these two. And then I can draw the sketch for my guide curve. And so I'm going to sketch on that plane an arc between these 2 points. Okay. And then I'll just work on fully defining this arc for a second. Okay, so the way I did that, I just threw in a construction line, a horizontal construction line, and I made the arc tangent to that. And so now that arc is fully defined, and you can see it there. Now I just need to rinse and repeat and do that for an arc between these two and an arc between the other ones on the other side. And so again, I'm just going to do a plane. Now I want to make sure I'm going from this point to this point, and I'm just going to select this one just to be consistent. Okay, so I'll go ahead and finish up those sketches and then pick up the video from there. Okay, to show you what I've done here, let me hide these planes real quick so we can just see all these sketches. Okay, so I went and I repeated that process where I made a plane between these points. I did an arc, I made it tangent to fully define it. I did that for all of those points. Okay, and this might not make much sense currently, but hopefully you'll see what's going to happen here in a second. I can go ahead and open my Loft tool, and I'm going to loft between these two. Okay, now this is exactly what we were already getting before. Okay, but now I want to select guide curves. Again, just like the order matters here on your profiles, the order also matters on your guide curves. You shouldn't go from one and then cross the part and select the other one. It can create invalid geometry. You should just go around the part. Just pick one and then go around the part. So I'm going to pick this one. I'm going to pick this one. And then come over here to this one. And then over here to this one. Okay. And hopefully you can see now that it's going to follow from those points to this point. It's going to follow that curve or that sketch that I've created. You can still do start and end constraints at this point, although you might not get quite what you're looking for. Which one's my starting sketch? This one. So let me do a normal to profile and just show you. So it will still modify it. You can see it changing. If you can see the preview changing just a little bit. But because you have those guide curves in there, it's not going to change a lot. And then of course you can still break it at the end. You can see it there changing on the bottom a little bit. So, I mean, generally, if you use guide curves, you're probably not going to use those constraints, but I won't say you never. And then, oh, I just escaped that. Let me do this one more time. Okay. And then that way we can just go ahead and finish up that loft. This one here. Okay. There you go. So there we have our loft. We've created some sort of vacuum nozzle. Hopefully you can see how it'll be useful for those guide curves. And I will say, this is the hardest part for me, at least with solid modeling, comes to lofts because they're so finicky and there's so many things going on. You just have to get really creative with how you insert planes in order to create guide curves and different things so that you can define the loft and make it look like what you want it to look like. So don't be discouraged if you have issues with this or if it's not easy. It takes a lot of practice, but I'm sure you'll be able to get it and you'll be able to create some really cool shapes.